Hi, I'm Mackenzie.
Hey, I'm Denise, and welcome to the podcast from Rundown to Renewed.
Today we're continuing our series through the book, The 4-8 Principle, which is based off of Philippians 4:8 that reads, Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things.
So, we are actually wrapping up this series. This is our last episode in the 4-8 principle. It's been such a joy.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended. Literally, just that's what came out. So, today we're going to chat through how grateful are you?
Yeah.
Gratitude leads to joy.
Mm-hmm.
It heightens our joy. So we're gonna chat through that today. So
Yeah.
that's a great question to just ask yourself. How grateful am I?
Yeah.
Some other great questions that will help answer that would be what is the most significant goal that you've already accomplished?
Mm-hmm.
In what ways has God shown his grace in your life recently? What's the nicest compliment you've received in the last month? What's the most beautiful thing you've seen in the last week? Asking yourself questions like these where you're being specific
Mm-hmm.
is going, even just thinking about my own answers made me made
Right.
me more joyful. Like it
Yep.
just stirred that naturally up
Yeah.
in me. And so these promptings can really help amplify your joy.
Yeah. And I think that, when we sit and ask these questions, we have to use that part of our brain that thinks,
Yeah.
and it's not like a blanket answer, yes, no. You actually have to sit and think, and that's good to activate your brain, but it shows how much we're paying attention to the good in our lives.
Right.
And like, are we cultivating a habit of gratitude?
Mm,
We have lots of habits. Is gratitude one of those?
yeah.
And, gratitude, it involves channeling your energy and attention toward what is present right now
Hmm.
and just working rather than what's absent and ineffective. So it is the cornerstone of an unstoppable attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that
Mm-hmm.
because when you have joy, no circumstance is going to get rid of that.
And the gratitude pouring into that, it's when obstacles come, when hard things come, you're still when you're making that a practice and that intentionality, you can still find this like those small things, right,
Right.
to be grateful for. So the reality is the more you appreciate today,
Mm.
the more you're gonna notice things tomorrow to be grateful for. But the opposite's true,
Yeah.
right? So the less appreciative you are today, like the fewer blessings you're going to tend to acknowledge tomorrow. And
Yeah.
that's true. I mean, and that is what's going to get you in a stuck state.
Mm. Yep.
So it's just taking those small steps of even just looking for a few things, right? If you're
Right.
really in a rut, just find those few things because those few things are what's going to build
Yeah,
over
and
time.
I mean, we live in a broken world, right? We
Absolutely.
are broken people.
Yeah.
And so there are going to be obstacles to gratitude. So let's just name some of them out
Yeah. Call them out. We
so
know.
that we can know them and know the enemy's tactics and to be able to say, okay, this is how I am targeted and this is not how it's going to be anymore.
That's right.
So the first one is just excessive noise. And, the constant connection to commitments and obligations and looming deadlines, whether that's on your phone,
Right.
because you're constantly getting those notifications, if it's email, they keep us occupied with urgency.
Yes.
And, you know, there's usually not much that is urgent that has to be addressed right then.
Hmm. But we make it because we're constantly getting it.
Yeah. Hmm.
We think that and then you're not actually getting anything done because all you're doing is
Correct.
multitasking.
Yeah.
And then that creates a heck of a lot less joy
Right.
because then you're just not feeling any kind of
Hmm.
anything actually happening and moving forward.
Right.
Another obstacle would be overexposure to the media. It's an election year. By the time this records, we will be past the election. But like me, we say more. I
Right.
mean, I saw a Christmas ad the other day. We're recording this in October, and I was happy because
Yeah.
it wasn't an election ad. And I'm
Right.
normally not like I am a big fan of Christmas, but I don't want to see anything Christmas till November. But even in October, I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something positive.
Yes, seriously. Joy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another thing is that a lot of times we have the "oh me" attitude
Yeah.
when we feel someone or some group owes us, and the gifts that we are given are not gifts, but a right we possess. And that is so dangerous. That is a
Mm,
dangerous attitude to have.
hmm That's the exact word that came to mind when you said it. And I
Mm,
was like, that's very dangerous.
yeah.
Yep. So, got any worriers listening here?
Oh.
Mm. Yep. So, worrying or like negative forecasting. Okay, so worry involves dwelling on potential negative outcomes without doing anything about them,
Mm,
right? So we all get worried, right? But does our worry lead us to productive action over something that could or couldn't happen? Or does it keep us, do we start just dwelling and sitting in it, right? Worry is when you trust your fears more than God.
mm,
So, this book that we're reading, that we've been walking through for the last over a month now, Philippians, the 4:8 principle. So, it's based on Philippians 4:8, like Mackenzie always says. But the two verses before that actually hit on worry.
mm.
So, Philippians 4:6 and 7 say, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, there's that gratitude,
Yeah.
let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. So, practicing that prayer and thanksgiving, that peace is going to that peace will is an automatic
Right.
is a natural response to that.
Yeah.
And then that's when 4:8 comes in, whatever is true, whatever is noble, all of these things, that's what you're gonna be able to focus on. But you can't focus on any of that if worry
Right.
is overpowering your brain.
Yeah. I think another one the world gets caught up in is materialism and consumerism.
Mm. Oh,
Especially, I mean, we're headed into the holiday season.
yeah.
Like, I deserve this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the more people seek to become satisfied as consumers, the emptier that they actually become as human beings.
Ooh, geez.
And I think it's important to sit and just consider where you've been looking for satisfaction lately. Like, is it in those material possessions? Like, if you own that purse, is that really going to change you?
Mm,
Is it in like social standing? If you have that title, what does that actually mean?
right.
And thinking back to that eternal perspective,
Mm,
you're not going to take that purse or that title with you to heaven.
right.
So it doesn't matter.
Because it's not, those things aren't bad, but are they your fulfillment?
Focus. Yeah. Yep.
Because that's where it can get dangerous
Yeah.
and dicey. Another hindrance to gratitude is the scarcity mentality.
Hmm.
I park myself here more often. I'm working on it. I'm
Yeah.
so very aware of it now. It's so when I catch it, it's like, oh shoot, here we are again, Uh-oh. But a scarcity mentality is just this all too common belief that the pie of abundance contains only a fixed number of pies, right? So it is this deep rooted fear that there's not enough good stuff for everyone.
Mm,
And I mean, you hear that a lot in like people's just negative comments about when people are succeeding,
right.
you know, just this, well, of course they got that. Where's mine? And it's there's not joy
Mhm.
for them or gratitude for what they're experiencing. It's it always falls back onto what you don't have.
Yeah.
So, the reality is God's creation is not limited or scarce in the least,
Mhm.
right? But we mistakenly think it is. And then for all practical purposes, like it actually is for us because that's what we're believing, right? And you believe like what you are believing up here is what you're going to see. So, and that's, I guess that's where I camp. I don't necessarily camp in the judgmental part where I'm calling people out on, and I'm not like I'm not excited for them, but I park in the scarce of, well, I can't, like, I don't think I can have this, or where's it going to come from? And it's like,
Right.
well, God's abundant,
Right. Yeah.
right? So I love what he said in the book. He says to consider that you can bake a bigger pie. And who doesn't love pie? I love pie. We're getting into the holidays. I'm ready
Yep.
for some pie. You can create more value in your home, in your community, and in the world. Um, and this abundance is self-perpetuating, right? So the more that you create, and the more people are going to be impacted, and then the abundance is just multiplied. Like there's no limit,
Right.
but we put limits on ourselves. We put limits on God, and then you're stuck in scarcity.
Yeah. A huge thing that I can always go back to if I am feeling down or anything, it's my lack of connection and intimacy with God.
Hmm.
And, when you're connecting with God, there's naturally an all of life as well as thanksgiving for what life has to offer and what you're here to offer the world. As Jesus said in John 15:5, I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing.
Mhm.
And, I think about when we have these struggles with gratitude,
Yeah.
because it's there. We're humans,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We're going to struggle at points. Worshiping and praising God and thanking him
Hmm.
is an instant light switch
Hmm.
in our brains because we're taking our focus off of those negative things and we're putting it to how wonderful God is and what he has done for you. And that is so powerful to do.
Well, and it just like when I am not in a great headspace, I'll put on worship music
Yeah.
because it flips the script.
Yeah.
It really does. So let's chat through kind of the nature of gratitude and what gratitude is, right? We know here's the barriers to it. What's the nature of it for ourselves? So gratitude is a feeling. Okay. It's a sense of joy and appreciation in response to receiving a gift, whether that gift is something you can hold or it's a gesture, right? It's kind of starts as a feeling,
Yeah.
okay? And then it's also a capacity. Okay, so it is a learned skill of uncovering and creating meaning and value in your everyday situations and relationships. So you are looking for things to be grateful for. It's a habit.
Yeah.
It that's and as you build these habits over time, it's going to grow your capacity for it.
Yeah.
But if you're not looking for things to be grateful for, your capacity for gratitude is just automatically not going to grow.
Yeah, gratitude is a choice, right? We
Yeah.
get to choose.
Yeah.
It's a conscious and deliberate decision to focus on life's blessings rather than its shortcomings.
Right.
And when you focus on your blessings, your life feels abundant.
Yes.
And when you focus on what's missing, it just feels incomplete.
Yeah. So, a great question to ask yourself is, does my gratitude stand out?
Mm,
I love that because
yeah,
it puts us all in the hot seat
right.
a little bit. It gives you an opportunity to assess, because I'm sure that we've all met people that like you know that they're joyful and grateful,
Mhm.
and you've met people that are on the opposite side of that spectrum.
Yep.
There, there are all kinds out there, right? And so, what kind of person would you rather be around?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I think we all know that answer, right? And the thing is like to become known for our gratitude, we first have to make that shift from like this routine gratitude, which Mackenzie's going to chat through what that is, to exceptional gratitude.
Yeah. So routine gratitude is just standard.
Right.
It's ordinary, reactive, and can be superficial. So it looks like saying thank you when someone holds the door open for you, or waving when someone lets you into traffic, and thanking the server at the drive-through or restaurant when you get your food. And I like to think that like if people aren't doing this, they can't have exceptional gratitude either because it's like, man, you can't say thank you for the small things. How
Yeah.
are you going to say thank you for the exceptional
Can't
things?
even can't even wave in traffic.
Yeah.
That's like the first thing I do. It's funny, my kids will actually do it. Like if they're in the car with me and we're merging or in traffic or whatever, they'll be like, ah. It's cute.
That's cute.
So that exceptional gratitude it's intentional, it's proactive, and it's extraordinary.
Hmm.
Because you're just not everybody's going to be exceptionally gratitude because again, it's kind of this habit and this skill,
Yeah.
right? So exceptional gratitude could look like expressing thanks for even, the smallest things, right? That's where it starts.
Yeah.
So then what are those little things that aren't so little,
Mm.
right? Like for me, I love like when my kids are laughing.
Yeah.
It's the best. I'm always so grateful for it. There was one day we were just talking about worship music a couple minutes ago, and I put worship music on. I typically always have some kind of music on when we're just hanging out and, whatever we're doing in the house. And I put on some worship music the one time, and they both were in the dining room playing with their Legos, and they both like shot up their hands and were singing, and it was just such a monumental moment.
Yeah.
And it's an everyday, it's in the quote unquote mundane part of life, but that's exceptional.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful for it, and I thank God for it right then, right? Or just like hugs from people, and then those just basic necessities that we don't even realize we have and we can very easily take for granted, like indoor plumbing and air conditioning and clean water. Um, just basic education
Right.
that we have and our kids get to have. Seatbelts, our immune systems,
Mhm.
things like that, right?
Yeah.
These things that aren't little at all, but we make them little
Right.
because we're exposed to them all the time,
Yeah.
right? And then this also, involves the habit of appreciating other people, right? So when you're exceptionally gratitude, you're going to appreciate others. And when other people are appreciated, their self-worth is elevated as well.
Hmm.
And don't we need people that have healthy, not what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I don't know.
Toxic.
Toxic. Yeah, we'll go with that. That wasn't it, but that suits it. Yeah, right. But don't we want people with healthy self-worth?
Yeah.
Because the world will just be better
Hmm.
in that way. So,
Yeah. I think it's so important to remember that if you want to increase the value of something in your life, you take better care of it.
yeah.
And that goes for everything. And our gratitude, we're headed into November where everyone is focusing on Thanksgiving and gratitude. And I think that's really great, but let's continue it through December and 2025
Yeah, all the days.
and not let it go to waste. I was at a group the other day and someone had printed out these calendars. They're from Ann Voskamp with Joy Care.
Like, man.
We'll put the link in the description, but she actually has calendars and there's promptings for three things that you're thankful for every single day. And some of them you like think outside the box or you think about these small things that we have in our head that are actually great blessings that we just take for granted.
Right.
So, I'd encourage everyone to print it out for the rest of the year. I'm sure she'll have a 2025 one come up at some point. But I think that would be a good way to start cultivating gratitude every single day.
Well, it's intentional.
Yeah.
And there's something about putting pen to paper. And we've
Yeah.
talked about that before. Just that habit of writing things out.
Hmm.
It just re it just does. It does such a good thing for your brain
Yeah.
and your body and all that good stuff.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we have some discussion questions. Um, the first one is, have you appropriately given thanks to God for the blessings surrounding you? And we were kind of just talking about this. Like, my answer would be yes, I am thankful to God every single day,
Right.
but I can forget about those daily consistent blessings, like our dishwasher or our
Huge
washing
blessing.
machine
Yeah.
or our vacuum, like those things that I use pretty much daily that I don't think to thank him for. And I think about a few years ago, there was this Christmas video, and it was like wrapping up all the things to be grateful for. And it had the switches wrapped in wrapping paper. It had the bed wrapped in wrapping paper.
Right.
It had the fridge wrapped, the car wrapped, like all of these things that we use daily, but we forget.
Hmm.
Like we're just, entitled to. We have them and
Yeah.
we get them. And, in America, we are so comfortable and live so well, and we can forget to count those blessings.
Yeah. Well, you're not thinking about it. Like it's
Right.
just this natural part of your life. And Mackenzie and I are very much on the same page with this answer. Like I I try to start my days by thanking God. In this 4-8 principle book, he actually talks about like in your mornings, thank like list 5 things that you're grateful for. And you can, do that by praising God, journaling it, whatever. I choose to just thank God through prayer.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, what are 5 things that I'm grateful for?
Yeah.
So I know that I'm utilizing gratitude.
Right.
I know that I'm practicing it. Um, but yeah, those everyday, how can you see those little things
Yeah.
as things to be grateful for?
And it's just shifting your mindset, right?
Right.
That's
Right.
all it is.
Yeah. And I will be honest, like I have my dishwasher. So I've been in my house for a little over a year now and just have like minor issues with it. And they're all like fixable, but they're annoying. It's just one more thing
Right.
that needs done. And I've I've noticed that when certain things happen, that's my mindset. Just one more thing. Come on, just one more, like seriously, one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
And um, but just kind of chatting this through just now, it's like, you know what? But I have a dishwasher,
Right.
and if for whatever reason I would need a new dishwasher, I have friends that I could call to install it.
Right.
It's like there are looking for those solutions to our problems rather than looking at it's that goes back to the worry.
Mm-hmm.
Look at I have all these problems and I have all these things, and when you're in a worried state of mind, you're not being proactive. But whereas like just the simple, it's a goofy illustration, but it's real, it's everyday life. And so if anything were to happen to this dishwasher, guess what? I can go to a store and I can get a new dishwasher and I can call up. I probably have like 3 or 4 friends that I could call that would come over and help me install it
Right.
so I have less things on my plate,
Yeah.
you know? So just taking notice of things like that.
Yeah. And your answer is kind of flowing into the next question
Oh,
of
excellent.
what gratitude blockage weighs you down the most.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something, again, like we need to be aware of Satan's tactics of how he
Mm-hmm.
attacks. And
Well, he came to steal, kill, and destroy.
yeah,
And he's after your joy.
but God overcame the world,
Amen.
so
Amen.
we don't
Right. So
have
you don't
to
have to stay.
dwell.
No,
in that.
you
We
can,
can dwell in Jesus and
yeah.
what he did.
And it's like you can know it, but you don't have to stay there.
Correct.
It's something to acknowledge
Yeah.
in those hard moments. But going back to
The blockages.
right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So for me, I mean, like I shared earlier, just kind of the scarcity mindset. And I think I've shared on previous episodes, I'm experiencing a lot of joy in my life right now, but joyful things feel foreign.
Yeah.
And so when something feels foreign, I talked to my therapist about this recently. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because I don't want to negate all this good, but
Mhm.
my body is like red alert. Like what,
Right.
And so she said, well, it's just that practice of it's both and,
Mm.
So yeah, there are certain things that are happening in your life that are so good and you can continue in all of those things. And even if they feel a little bit wonky, you can just take notice of that.
Yeah.
Okay, this feels wonky and I live in joy and abundance.
Mm.
It's acknowledging both sides of it
Yeah.
so that because I think a lot of times we want to just like, oh, well, I don't want to feel this, so I'm just going to shove it under the rug. And I think that gets dangerous
Mhm.
because then you're not actually dealing with what you're facing.
Right.
You're not dealing with your problems. And so it's this both and I
Yeah.
thought that was really helpful because it acknowledges the it just acknowledges the truth of the matter and what can also be true,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And I think for me, like a gratitude blockage is I can be overly positive
Mm.
and not address those underlying feelings. Like everything's fine. It's gonna be great. Like
No
we will
stress.
get through it. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger,
Mhm.
all of those silly things. And I've learned that is not what we need to do, but that's what helped me survive in a point in my life.
Right.
And so
Right.
it's just breaking those things of like recognizing, yeah,
Mhm.
this is what I tend to do in those situations, and I avoid those feelings
Yep.
versus feeling them because that's scary.
Yep. Yep. Well, and it's interesting because we both created, and everybody does this, right?
Hmm.
But our blockage to gratitude are things that we learned when we were in survival mode.
Yeah.
And so now that we're not in survival mode,
Hmm.
how do you operate in the world?
Right.
And so I think for anyone that can relate to that, things that tactics that you've built to just help you survive,
Right.
those same things will not help you thrive.
Correct. Correct.
And that's not a judgment or anything because clearly you know, we're both in it too, for
Yeah.
sure. It's a part of the human experience.
Hmm.
So where can you hold the and, you
Yeah.
know? Because for Mackenzie, it's like, well, maybe it's this overly positive thing. Okay, and
I have
maybe
feelings.
right. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's your and?
Yeah.
You know? I
Yeah.
need to tell my therapist to listen to this because this is straight from our session. But it can be both
Yeah.
and you can actually experience more gratitude when it is both
Hmm.
because then you're not neglecting either side of it.
Right.
You're honoring both parts of it.
And I think that falls under every aspect of our life. We can have
Yes.
this extreme or this extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like in our heads, we only think those two things are possible,
Right.
but there's all this space in between.
Yeah.
And it's like finding what is in between versus looking at those extremes.
Yeah. It's it's a powerful practice.
Yeah.
It really does help.
Yeah. So if you find yourself looking at any of these extremes, if you find yourself just in a lack of joy and you want to talk through that, Denise and I are both life coaches. We would love to get together and have a session and talk you through
Mm-hmm.
some things and see if we'd be a good fit together.
Absolutely. And we are just days away from the Live to Lead conference.
Mhm.
Spots are limited at this point. So if
Yes.
you are listening to this before November 8th and you want to come hang with us and hear us speak and hear other amazing speakers
Mhm.
on leadership and networking and just grow your contact list and just have your cup full, we would love, love, love to have you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us through the 4-8 principle.
Yes,
We are excited for what's next. And if you are feeling run down,
there's space for you at our table.